You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. What's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. If you're new to the show, we drop brand new episodes every single day of the week with unconventional money makers. So if you have not yet, please be sure to go hit that subscribe button so you never miss an opportunity to make more money. And while you're there, leave us a quick rating and review. It really does help out the show tremendously. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about getting out of your own way and prioritizing happiness in your pursuit of money with my new friend, Keren Eldad. She is a thought leader in the coaching world, and she specializes in taking high achievers out of the futility of constant pursuit and into the greatest levels of success and fulfillment. Her coaching clients include Olympic athletes, politicians, Hollywood stars, supermodels, special forces operatives, and serial entrepreneurs, as well as renowned global organizations such as Estée Lauder, JPMorgan, and Nike. She's also the founder of The Club, a community of leaders, entrepreneurs, and coaches who encourage and support each other to reach their fullest potential and make their greatest contribution. This is a part of the conversation that needs to be talked about more, and one that we don't often get into on the show. So Keren, what's up? Welcome to the show.
It's such a pleasure to be here, Travis. I'm so happy to be with you talking about my favorite money.
Yes, of course. And that's why everybody's listening. So let's go ahead and jump into that conversation. Tell me about the first dollar you ever made, and then tell me about the most recent dollar that you made.
They could not have been more different. What a perfect question with which to begin this. So the first dollar I ever made was done the conventional way. I was working for a large organization, and it wasn't a waitressing job, actually. My first job ever was working in the foreign ministry of Israel. My dad was heading up a department there. He's a diplomat, and he got me a job at the archive. So not only is this an organization, a bureaucratic organization, this is the bureaucratic organization, and it is the worst job ever, and it pays absolutely nothing. But I was super grateful for that dollar, and I worked myself to the bone making that dollar and then hoarding that dollar. This was an extraordinarily painful thing that would then become a pattern that dominated my 20s, and I'm not ashamed to tell you, my 30s too. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could you possibly be over 30? Thank you, Travis.
That was my next question.
Thank you. You're very kind. No, I'm very, very well into my 40s now. And luckily, this all starts to change in my late 30s. In my late 30s, I started to discover wealth consciousness through the lens through which most of us discover wealth consciousness, which is I got super broke. And most people who become broke and are doing all the right things don't really understand why they're broke and think, all right, well, I must have made some kind of a miscalculation. Maybe I need a better job. And I started to understand that a better job or would actually technically just be another cage for me. Clearly, this was not working. And then I started to tune into all the quote unquote gurus like Susie Orman, who you and I discussed very briefly before. And I realized that all she was doing was yelling at me for my Starbucks habit. I mean, I'm loath to tell her how much I spent on shoes. That was even worse. And I realized that that was not the solution either, because I'd heard these people before and they'd already terrorized and terrified me before. Clearly, this was not working. So I had to find another way. And this is when coaching, wealth consciousness, troop consciousness books start to flood my life. By the time I started my new business, I was almost 40 years old at the time. It's been 8 years now. You do the math. I am already thinking very, very differently. And that brings us to the last dollar I've earned. My business this quarter, Travis, is up almost 600%. This is the, I think, second or third growth spurt that we've experienced in this business. And the expansion is absolutely massive. It's been relaxed. It's been fun. I'm not working myself to the bone. I have time to talk to you, have a great conversation for other people about money. I'm not obsessed with spending it right away. I'm not obsessed with hoarding it right away. It kind of feels like nothing. This is a completely new state. And that's where I want everybody to be. Happiness and rich.
you touched on something really, really important at the beginning of that, which was when you feel like you're doing all the right things. Like you were, I think our generation, kind of the millennial generation, is dealing with kind of the brunt of the initial impact of discovering that this path is no longer a viable path. because I think our parents' generation were kind of the last ones to be able to experience some version of that, and probably
Hmm.
a portion of them really got hit really hard as well. But I think a lot of the millennials are just kind of starting to figure out, like, man, I went to school, I got the degree. I put in my time. I
Yeah.
did grunt work, working for people I didn't necessarily love or appreciate or respect. I got paid nothing to do it.
Yeah.
I put in my time. Where is the payoff that everybody keeps
Yeah.
talking about? It's not coming. And
Yeah.
like the bad news to start off the conversation is that it's probably not coming. There's
Correct.
no special day, there's no graduation ceremony, there's no pinnacle moment that's finally going to come at you just because you put in some work. It's just not going to come. You are the only one that's going to be responsible for bringing about that change in your life, which sounds like you definitely did, Karen. So
Yeah.
let's talk
Yes.
about how
Yes.
you
Let's
did
talk
that.
about that. Listen, so first of all, I knew I was going to love this. Already obsessed with this conversation. The second thing I want to say is that exennials are also in the same trap with y'all, and we're a little bit older than you, right? We're the kind of gray area between millennials and Gen X. Basically, we grew up with the internet, but we didn't grow up with the internet,
Yeah.
and that technically makes us sort of straddle both worlds. This means that in 2015, when I am already beginning to experience this. What the hell is happening, Sitch? I realized something that your generation can already full throttle accept, and it is there is no American dream anymore. It's over. I don't think that it worked for anyone under the age of 65 who is alive today. That, particularly after the last recession, something just completely reset. I remember feeling in 2015, I'd gone through a couple of bouts of unemployedness. I didn't really understand why my money was just not landing where it was supposed to and what missteps I had made. One of the things I recognized was that this is the kind of country that does not take care of you either. Now, you can go two ways with this. You can go into nihilism, which is, I'll tear everything down.
Yeah.
Or you can do what I did, which is, all right, then I'm going to build something for myself. Then I'm going to still do this. There are still examples who are out there who are proving to me that this is demonstrably possible. I'm going to follow their footsteps. I'm going to watch them super carefully, and I'm going to build real and lasting wealth. And that is what I did next.
Yeah, just because it's shifted does not mean that the opportunities are gone.
That's right.
That the opportunities are actually in more abundance than they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the traditional path is getting squeezed more than it's ever been squeezed. The rising interest rate scenario,
Correct.
the rising cost of getting a degree, and then the saturation of the bachelor degree to where now you have to go get a master's to make
Yeah.
yourself different than where 20 years ago, 30 years ago, all you needed was a bachelor's. Now you need a master's, which means you got to go to more school, which means you got to get more debt just to get out and get a job that's going to pay you less than what a bachelor's degree would have paid you 20 years ago getting out of that same exact college scenario. So
Correct.
that traditional path, the traditional American dream path is getting squeezed like crazy. More people are exiting the middle class than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, which way are you going to be exiting the middle class?
That's
Are you
right.
going to exit it down into poverty, or are you going to exit it up into, being a millionaire, multimillionaire? And the good news, to keep the conversation going in a more positive direction, is that there are opportunities everywhere and opportunities are endless, and it's never been easier to go create something for yourself. So what exactly did you do, Karen? What were the steps that you took?
So I made the decision that I'd never considered before, I have to tell you, because I'm such an institutionalist, because I do have a master's degree, because my parents had the exact same career all their lives. I did something crazy. I thought, I think I should start a business, which is the most insane, most American thought I've ever had. Luckily, I've also been blessed with a personality that's kind of very trial and error-y. I don't move very quickly. I don't do anything quickly, really. And so what I did was I first turned my day job into a contract so that I had money coming in and paying the rent and I didn't basically go bananas hustling.
Okay.
And the second, and I recommend that to anyone who is not independently wealthy who has ever received the thought, I must start a business. And then I started a couple of businesses to see what would stick. One was real estate. The other was coaching, which was my enormous passion, but I still didn't have the confidence to believe I was going to fully pull this off. And another was just doing odd jobs and helping out some of my friends who had agencies, etc. Basically, what happens here is number one, my ship is steady. I have money coming in. I have enough money to properly develop my business. And number two, I can test what's going to work out, why it's going to work out, how it's going to work out, essentially starting to learn what the business of being in business is all about. Within a year and a half, and I know for some people that sounds like an eternity, but for me, it really went fast. Within a year and a half, coaching had taken over absolutely everything. It was already flowing really, really, really well. I was already enjoying organizational clients who were paying me the big bucks. The referrals were already rolling the business naturally, and I could let go and just sort of ease into my business. I also want to credit the invisible work. And the invisible work that went into that year and a half was a buttload of wealth consciousness work, real mindset coaching, a lot of it. All the books, all the podcasts, this stuff matters so much.
Yeah, can you define that a little bit? What is wealth consciousness and how do you engage if that's something that somebody's listening and they're like, that sounds like something that I need, but I have no idea what that means and how do I get started doing that?
Wealth consciousness is the practice of thinking in abundance rather than thinking in scarcity as it applies to money. There are two worldviews. You have explored them several times here. One is the scarcity worldview, the idea that resources are finite and we're all competing for them. That's the view that's going to move you down a class, back to poverty. And abundance, the idea that resources are infinitely replenishing, that the fastest growing minority in the United States, and this is true, by the way, is billionaires, and that opportunity is absolutely everywhere you look. I like to say that in my lifetime, not only did the internet appear out of nowhere, but so did Justin Bieber. And if that's not evidence of abundance, I don't know what is. And when you start to really practice thinking, looking for possibilities rather than looking for obstacles, you truly develop the mindset of a wealthy, a truly wealthy person, not a hoarder, but a person who's really able to reap it in. This is something that takes time. It's a muscle, just like any muscle that I go to the gym for, these magnificent looks. I also stay in the mindset gym to keep this sharp as well. And it really is very cumulative and additive. It's like the compounding effect of any
Yeah.
investment. Now that I've been doing this for years, it just doubles on its return all the time. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the discipline factor and thinking of this as a muscle because it can get, from the outside looking in, it can get really, woo woo, motivational, crazy town really quickly. You're not going to get there just by, like the law of attraction only works if you do. If you also follow it up with abundant action and not just like writing down affirmations or
Yeah,
writing sentences or repeating meditation to yourself over and over again, it's also followed up by tremendous action.
that's
So
correct.
you were at the same time that you were focusing on your mindset and consuming content information and information that was going to help you create this mindset in your life, you were also working on like seven different things.
Hmm.
You were also applying everything that you were learning on a daily basis, and you were
That's
also
right.
seeing those things play out as you were trying to fix your mindset. It's not just a matter. Again, I don't want people to get into this cycle of mental masturbatory activity that doesn't actually propel you forward. It
No.
requires you to also take action at the same time and to understand that it's going to come with the expectation of the long term,
Yes, you
that
are
this is
absolutely
not going
right.
to just like be a switch that you can flip overnight and on now all of a sudden I'm an abundant minded person. It's just not how it works.
No,
You
it's
have to
not.
think that
Eh,
way and then follow it up with a
Yeah.
bunch of action.
If that were true, anyone with a Pinterest vision board would be already swimming in mansions. This is simply
Yeah.
not accurate. But here's the big difference, just to make it very, very clear to people. I did work very hard before, and yes, I did work very hard to start the business. But there are two critical differences, and you've already talked about them. You've even spoken about them in your Instagram feed. When I was in that archiving things, and basically using my organizational skills, which are exceptional, I should have been happy, but I wasn't. I was miserable. I didn't feel any iota of gratitude. I was underpaid and I was in hustle. I was in struggle. This was never going to produce positive results no matter what happened. And even though the jobs got better, my mindset never changed out of that. In the new iteration with the new business, I was number one in inspired to have a great and rich life. Never underestimate what that fear of going down is going to do for you. It can also be very, very inspiring. And the second was, I was deeply grateful for the opportunity to serve. I was deeply grateful for the fact that I did have side hustles and side jobs, that anybody was willing to pay so that I could have enough money to make the videos to build my new business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that gratitude and that inspiration, those made the critical difference. And that's where all the mindset work leads. It leads to just a different state.
Yeah, and you also tried and tested a bunch of different things instead of waiting for opportunity to come to you. You just took
Yeah.
advantage of whatever you possibly could at that time, which meant I got this side hustle thing. I'm working part-time for my friend who has this other business because I'm curious about learning how to whatever, assign tasks in Asana, or I'm curious about how Facebook ads work, or I'm curious about Google. I'm curious about copywriting. I'm curious about this and that. Well, go
Yeah.
test and try and get different tastes of different things. Because if you're just waiting for like a dose of inspiration to slap you in the face, you're going to be waiting for a really long time.
No, it's
You got to
completely
go out
true.
and test and try things. And then, like you said, the one like something just kept coming up over and over again. That was the coaching thing. And then, okay, well, this one seems to excite me a little bit more. So what
Yeah.
if I just cut out this other little side thing that I'm spending some time on and took that time and focused it in on this thing? Oh, I'm actually enjoying my time a little bit more. And then you talk a little bit about how happiness plays into your ability to think abundantly. And you talked about gratitude and how that kind of played into this thing as well. This is not a zero sum game. You can't just well I'm not going to worry about happiness right now. I'm just going to focus about making money, or like I'm not going to worry about money right now. I'm just going to focus on being happy. And it's like none of these things can be extracted from the other things. We are holistic
Right.
beings by nature, and so this is they all have to feed each other. And if you're struggling in one area, it will bleed over into the other areas and make you less effective at whatever that other area is. So can you talk a little bit about how keeping that in mind has been not only beneficial for your mental health, but also for your financial health inside of the business?
Well, you said such an amazingly important thing. There are not binary choices. Happiness versus hard work are not binary choices. I like to say that no unhappy journey has a happy ending. And I think people would do very, very well to think about that.
Mm.
My new book is called Gilded and has a giant gold cage on the cover because so many of my clients have worked themselves to the bone only to build themselves a fancier cage. None of us got into this game to be less free. We got into this game to be more free. And so the two things have to holistically coexist, as you said. I like to say if you love what you do and you're willing to do what it takes, everything is within your reach. But if you make this a binary choice of, I'll either do what it takes or I'll be happy, then I'm sorry to tell you, whatever you end up with is going to massively displease you. So, really, the work amounts to pretty much the ability to then surrender to the path of least resistance or to the work that really lights up your soul the most. It is no coincidence that coaching took over because I loved it, and it's no, the reason I never abandoned it was because I never gave it a chance to fail. I made sure to hedge my bets around it so that if it was truly organic to my soul, if it was truly my path, it would be allowed to evolve. Sort of like dating people without the insane clinging, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
you
yeah.
when you cling during dating, when you show up on your dates with a wedding dress, nobody wants to date you because you're a lunatic. But if you show up and you're kind of relaxed and you're going to be okay and you take it easy for a little while, you just let yourselves go with it and get to know each other, the natural dominant factor will arise. You cannot miss love. It's not possible to miss love, right? So this is essentially what happened to me. And this was then my experience with wealth, which was completely different. Before it was hoard, 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 lose, lose, lose. Everything you had to keep was extremely hard. Every dollar had to be managed and overmanaged. Now I got to be honest with you, like it's easy, it's flowing, it's comfortable. I'm not worried anymore. I have no reason to worry. And wait, this is what true wealth looks like. It's not the amount of money we have now in the bank. It is that my husband and I, he's much more enlightened than I am, by the way, because he fishes a lot. People who fish, I think, are meditators.
Yeah.
We always think, like, what if the market wiped us out tomorrow? What if a war completely changed our financial reality. This has happened to our parents. We have seen this in our lifetime. We would make it again. Real wealth consciousness is not I have, it's I can make it.
Yeah.
That's a very different state, and it's so nice and relaxing.
Yeah, it's the I experienced this in a microcosm the other day. I was playing a video game with my son. He's 5, and so we got him a Switch for Christmas. And we're playing a game called Mario Party, which I've played since I was a kid on my Nintendo 64 back in the day. And it was just kind of it hit me as this like a broader example for the money conversation, but it was a funny anecdote. Basically, in the game, you can land on a Bowser space, and Bowser can take all your money and take like the whole game. You're trying to get coins, and then you save up your coins to get a star, and then whoever has the most stars at the end wins. And so you get games, you get coins for like winning games and knowing which way to go on the map and things like that. And so I had a ton of coins, more than everybody else. Not to brag, but I'm better than my 5-year-old at this
I
game.
love that you're
Yeah.
kicking the ass of a 5-year-old.
Oh yeah. There's no free lunch over here. And so I think it was my son landed on this Bowser space. And basically what happened was there's one of the things that he can do is bring everybody up and then take all of the coins in the game and then redistribute them evenly to everybody in the game. And so I had, I don't know, 100 something coins. Everybody else had like 20 and 13 and whatever. And so they piled them all up, evenly distributed them. And then I was back. I went back down to like 30 coins, you know what I mean? But everybody else got more coins because they all took my coins basically. But then you fast forward like 3 or 4 turns later, and guess who ended up with all the coins again?
You.
Me,
Yeah.
because I knew how to play the game,
Yeah.
because I was better at the game than everybody else. And it was just like again, it was a silly example, but it was a microcosm that expressed a greater truth, which is that those who know how to manage the money in life or play the game of money in life, even if you redistribute all the money, give everybody the same amount, a matter of time, all of the same people would end up with all of the same money.
I love it.
They're the ones that know how the game is played.
This is the ultimate truth. Warren Buffett likes to say that when the tide comes in, you see who's been swimming naked. And it's completely the truth. There are people who have truly dedicated their lives to their mindset and to mastering this. They are the ones who will be okay no matter what happens to them. They're
No matter
also the
what.
ones who have happiness and resilience. Without happiness and resilience, one foul turn of the market can take you out. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know about you, but I'm not in the game of letting one downturn take me out ever again.
Yeah, not even take you out financially, take you out mentally,
Of course.
you
And
know?
I was talking to several wealth managers about this. They said that the biggest, most critical mistake is how people freak out when markets take a downturn. This
Yeah.
is just you'd think that people would understand this by now, but they're allowing themselves to be run by their psychology and not by their reason. This is why mindset matters so much, because you cannot afford to be ruled by your psychology.
So if somebody's listening to this right now, Karen, and they're kind of struggling with a few of these really ultimately just mindset issues that have prevented them from being able to build wealth or build abundance in their lives. What do you think are a couple of things that they're getting wrong that they could probably fairly instantly improve and see some sort of a lagging indicator that they're doing the right thing?
The first is they're very likely not reading the correct books or not finding the right people. They're finding people who scare them or who are very, very tactical in their approach. They're all about, for example, investing when in fact your mindset has to be on before investing. It doesn't mean that that's the wrong guru. It just means it's a step too far. You've gone tactical or you've gone specific instead of being general and soothing the mindset. There are 3 books I would begin with, and until I have graduated from these, and these are just examples, you find examples that work for you, that I would really imbibe before the work. The first is You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. The second is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, or The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Waddles, which is also absolutely fantastic. And the third is It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver. So I'm really, really happy people truly dedicate themselves to their mindset and hopefully to really aid and abet their psychology. Read a book like Gilded, a book like mine, which is a 12-step program to really kind of detoxify your mindset. The second thing is you have to understand, most likely, I think what they're doing wrong and that's led them to these tactics is they're desperate. Like they really want it. They want it real bad. What happens when we want somebody real bad in a dating scenario? they usually find us repulsive,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Even if we're super good looking. So it's the same with money. You want it too much, and money's like, you are a little clingy, and
Yeah.
this is super cringe. I'm not coming to you. So you're going to have to learn how to manage that energy vis-a-vis money. And again, that means your emotional state will have to change. And
Mm.
for that, there are lots of other books, resources, podcasts, etc., which will help you to reach a state of chill. Now, if you think this is an absolute emergency, I'm sorry, then it's going to take you even longer.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
just going to have to reach chill.
You can't have the clenched fist approach and expect that money's going to come your way. Like
Doesn't
the
work.
problem with the good thing about a clenched fist is you get to keep the money that you have. The bad thing about a clenched fist is that it's not open to receive anything. And so
That's right.
you have to disengage from the romanticized version of hoarding your money and being a miser about every penny that comes into your bank account. And then that other piece you mentioned is fantastic for anybody listening. That's like the lowest hanging fruit, the thing that
Yeah.
anybody can do. And you can do it 100% for free by
Free.
consuming podcasts like this or YouTube channels that exist about the same topic, or you can spend $20 on an audiobook or
Yeah.
something like that to immediately start changing the way that you think about money. You need to control your input. If you are just constantly watching the news and getting stuck in this like just
Yeah.
negativity cycle that media is literally designed to create, then you're going to start buying into the lie that everything's in scarcity and that the world's burning and that you are just lucky enough to be alive and
Yeah.
you're just going to be battling depression for the rest of your life. But if you can focus on getting inputs that are going to feed the abundance mindset more than the scarcity one, that you can start taking some of these actions that will begin to significantly improve your mental health, happiness, but also your financial situation.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I want to add a third point as a result of that, just to make it number three. Hang out with happy people who
Mm.
actually have money and who speak nicely about money. You
Yeah.
know, one of the reasons I'm very happily married is because I hang out, and even before marriage, hang out with very happy couples who are genuinely nice to each other and who never said things like, love is hard work and you'll never meet anybody, which is 90% of New York City where I was living at the time. I really made the conscious decision to not feed my mind that garbage. It's the exact same thing with money. Do not hang out with people who are terrified of money and who talk about how much things cost and how hard it is and how bad the economy is. Leave them to Thanksgiving dinner and go find a tribe that's literally ready for more.
Yeah, I've said this once. I've said it 1,000 times with the show being kind of about relationships along the way. Before we talked about money mostly, um, you no nobody disagrees that you are a product of your environment. That environment is a massive contributing factor to the person that you end up becoming. But there's so few people talking about how you ultimately have control over the environment that you live in. And for you that literally meant moving. For me that literally meant moving, like
Yeah.
like physically going to a different place and
Yeah.
living somewhere else. That's literally what that meant for me, and maybe that is what that means for you. Or
Same.
maybe it's not. Maybe it's also the inputs, it's the things that we're talking about before, the content that you're consuming, the social media rabbit holes you find yourself down, the books or audiobooks or
Yeah.
lack thereof that you're consuming, the people that you're hanging out with. You have the ability to
Yeah.
craft your own environment, which is the good news. Because if your environment produces you to become the person that you're going to be in a few years, then ultimately you are the person who controls who you're going to be in a few years, because you're the
Amen.
one that controls the environment that you're in on a day-to-day basis. So
You know, I
take
was
the
just
effort to control it.
I love this so much. I was just saying to my husband that the reason I've had such an upswing in business is because I turned off the news and I've started unapologetically watching fashion videos and cat videos and Frasier reruns. And he was like, Karen, that's ridiculous. And I'm like, look at me. I'm in such a happy, joyful mood.
Yeah.
I'm so relaxed. This is it. So truly, watch as much Seinfeld as you like. It's really good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Put yourself in a position to have a smile on your face, and you're probably going to be thinking about things in a lot lighter way very soon. Karen, this has been an awesome conversation. For anybody who's looking to get more from you, where can they go?
They can go to at Coach Karen on Instagram. That's Karen with two E's, not a Karen, and KarenEldad.com. And of course, Gilded can be bought wherever books are sold, including on audiobook.
Keren Eldad ELDAD.com. Go check out some of the things that Keren's putting out over there. Go check out her book Gilded. Get a copy of that for yourself, add it to your library, and thank me later for introducing you, because I'm sure you will get something from that will change your life. Everybody else listening, tuning in, remember that money only solves your money problems. However, it's a little bit easier to solve the rest of your problems if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.